Today's show is sponsored by SCHIIT Audio. SCHIIT Audio designs and builds audio components made in the USA. Based in Valencia, California, their wide line of amps, DACs, and audio accessories fit any budget, starting at $49. For a full rundown of all their products, visit SCHIITdotCOM or stop by their retail store in Old Town Newhall, just north of Los Angeles. That's SCHIIT.com. The Occasional Podcast 2019 CES, very special, very, very special co-host today, my partner in crime for the show, Dan Browdy. How are you, brother?
What's up, man? How's it going?
If you can't tell, we're both a little hoarse in the throat. It's been nonstop talking for like 3 days straight. That's just how it goes.
It does get a little loud there.
It's loud all over. The difference between this and other shows is that we hit up the South Hall, and when you hit the South Hall, it is loud. There's a lot of massage chairs.
And a lot of VR.
And there's a lot of VR, a lot of AR, VR, all kinds of stuff. But for the South Hall, the key 2 words of the event, what would you say they were?
True wireless.
Yes. So now, if you guys remember, we had wireless IMs, the sport kind of thing, last year, but it was mostly connected by a wire around the back of the neck or some other contraption that gave more space for the battery pack, the Bluetooth module, and all these things. But Apple was the one, of course, that came out with a wireless thing that was all in the stem. Problem being battery life, right? And the room for the antenna, and consequently the room for the drivers of the thing. It limits the size of the driver. If you want to do like a 10 millimeter dynamic driver in there, you're going to be kind of tight.
Right.
So what happened this year? 9, maybe even 10, quote unquote, true wireless headphones. So we have basically what the iPod Apple thing kind of came out with initially is, but everybody's coming out with it, and it's just rampant. It was literally dominating the South Hall. It's all anybody could talk about. And to be honest, there were a quick summary. Most of them are coming out that range between like on the low end $78 and on the high end $150. Just some random brands. Helm, Jaybird already has one out. MEE has one. Clear has one.
Did Clear have one? I'm not sure.
Maybe not. You know what? I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but just take my word.
Audio Technica, Sennheiser,
yeah.
RHA.
All the big guys, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting that one out of the way because I thought it was interesting, but as audiophiles, obviously, I think a lot of people are showing the fence if the wireless is going to get there. Clear, however, did use a new Qualcomm chip where they're claiming what the average playtime is also an issue. So it's like 5 hours for most of these guys, but the Clear guy that's not out yet, that's coming out, is apparently going to be able to do 10 hours.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things. So far, the main differentiator I've seen between these true wireless ones is essentially battery time. How long of a charge do you get on the earphones? And then they all come with the little charging thing that you stick them in that can do like 3 or 4 recharges, right? So you get like maybe 3 to 4 per charge on the pair, and then maybe 3 or 4 recharges on the thing. So 10 hours on a single is pretty solid. Curious how that's going to sound. Yeah,
I'm curious how that one's going to work out, but it's not out yet, and it also uses Bluetooth 5.0. And after the guy said 5.0, I was like, I'm going to start asking around who's got 5.0, and it was the only time that even came up the entire weekend. No one else used 5.0 yet. And again, that's not out yet, right. But he threw that spec out there, so he wins the spec wars. Good job, guys.
How many sources use it, though?
I don't know. Do you know of any?
I mean, future-proof's not bad.
Yeah.
Future-proof's a good thing.
I guess kind of the next thing on the South Hall. That was the first day we were there. Aside from a $10,000 massage chair that I did, that was absolutely life changing. It was amazing. Really, the Sennheiser booth had a big presence, but their new soundbar does 5.1.4 surround
At most.
and top firing like a bunch of subwoofers shooting out from the front and sides, and then a treble dropper as well. I mean, I guess the reason this one's a little bit unusual is it's $2,400 for a soundbar. That's obviously it's coming out in May 2019. It has crazy DSPs to get these sound waves to go around, but from a digital perspective, a lot of these things we saw Google Chromecast. It's becoming like a more of a standard feature, at least this week. And this one I asked specifically 4.0 or whatever close to that for the Bluetooth, and then Dolby Vision decoding and all this. But it was a beast.
From what I gathered, it has a calibration. Like it'll calibrate itself to the room to give you the best sound, which I think is it's a nice.
Not a phone
feature.
app either. It was a wired mic, like the old school ones used to do. And I mean, it's got it because the whole premise is that these beams shoot off the walls and land at your head in a perfect kind of imaging, hopefully. But I think it's worth mentioning their attempt is also to recreate a phantom rear channel behind you somehow. And that was the one thing that I wanted to hear. They did not get a chance to verify if they pulled that little spectacle off, because that would be quite a thing.
Yeah, from what I heard from talking to someone today, it's pretty solid. I guess they have a demo where they actually have an 11.1 setup, and then the soundbar, and they kind of switch back and forth, and you can hear the difference, but it's really clear like how good it is, how close it is. So I'm curious. I'll probably be hearing it tomorrow,
and not specifically for CES, like something to show off, but the headlines that kind of popped out this week too were, of course, US beta for Qobuz came out, so we're starting to get that guy launched. It's been out, the pricing has come out, but now we're looking at the open beta. Now I believe it's either getting ready or really close to, and also MQA Masters for Tidal available on Android. They're working on the Apple still, but they're pulling down the big stuff. Now the question really in my head is like, obviously I think there are some that sound really good because they're masters and they're the highest quality, but we're still pinching this, bottlenecking at the capabilities of the phone, right?
Yeah. Now my big questions on it. I have it. I didn't realize it was on there, so I got to do some testing. But the Android. All Android phones upscale all audio to 24.192, like period. If you want it not to do that, you have to root it. So I'm really curious how that is going to affect the sound of the Tidal Masters on there.
Yeah. Still interesting, fun, progress, right?
Yeah,
progress.
It's a step up for sure.
It's also one of the big players in South Hall Bayer Dynamic. Not necessarily a heavily audiophile kind of product launch this time around. Like sometimes they have some cool stuff, but they had a new 990 hybrid gaming headphone, so you get the mic for the streaming plus this new gaming mic, which is just kind of like you got a chance to listen to. What did you think?
It's cool. I think it was about $400, and it's a headphone and a mic that's meant to be used on a boom. It's targeted towards streamers. It comes with a pop filter and what have you. The mic is a USB, and it has a amp and mixer built in, and you're meant to plug the headphone into the mic to. And I think Blue has something similar. Excuse me. The headphone, from what I gathered, seemed to be really similar to the DT990 sound. But a lot of their new headphones have this. If you look inside the cup on the felt, you can see like a circular thing in the middle where they've put some stuff to try to tame the treble down, which is one of the things that people say about the Bayer phones is they're really good. They tend to be a little bright, and so they've been trying to kind of tame that down for people. I played with it a little bit. It still very much felt like the 990 to me, for better or worse. It's a very popular gaming headphone. Always has been. It's a great gaming headphone. So
Tiger 300 is the name. 32 ohms. They did reduce the resistance a little bit. or the the impedance, and then it's $399. But you can't buy it individually; it has to come with the mic. So it's about out now. It came out like 2 weeks ago. The other thing from those guys, Lagoon ANC, $449. Releasing the first week of April, Mosaic sound personalization. So they have like a little app that helps personalize the sound, and it's also like the first Bluetooth noise canceling one in the mix for them. So the funny little thing they added to that, LEDs inside the cup light up.
Very, very, very gamer oriented.
Right?
Yeah. With like an orange stripe on the side.
Yeah. Not something you can see from the external, right? It's only on the inside of the cup. So yeah, that was that. Now, if we moved on to Audio Technica, they had a ton of stuff, and I can't go through it all, but needless to say, new turntables, new DJ turntable, new cartridges. They have a couple of new turntables that are have a wood finish that some people thought were very nice. It's a little bit of a deviation from the silver black stuff. You like that one?
This guy.
Yeah, you like it?
I like that. I thought it looked pretty cool as someone who's not into turntables at all.
3 new hi-fi headphones, but I guess the biggest news coming out there for those that are fans of the ATH M50s.
Yeah, they have a new Bluetooth version of the ATH M50X, and it's. I mean, I haven't got a chance to really listen to it. I assume it sounds basically like the M50.
I mean, that's a pretty good guess, I'd hope.
Yeah. The one thing that I noticed immediately was that the removable cable does not have a proprietary locking mechanism on it anymore, so you should be able to just use any removable cable, which is nice. I think that's going to be a pretty solid buy.
$199, but here's a good spec: 40 hours of playback. It's not. I mean, that's not bad. It's a bigger headphone. And then they have IMs, obviously, are kind of the big talking about because it's leaning more towards a lifestyle play, right? And I forgot to even mention Bayer has an entire new line of a lifestyle IM starting at $50 that they are launching at right now. Beat Birds, Soulbird, Bluebird ANC, which is replacing their old Byron series. So something worth mentioning, but IMs. A lot of IMs. I would say that back at the Audio Technica, they did have a disc-shaped bud-sized ones that we did not get to hear. There's one thing available, and I really wanted to hear them, but not that in-the-ear form factor. So it was almost like your traditional Apple earbud, but like a disc with a rubber edge.
It looked like it was about double the diameter.
Yeah, it was big.
And it had kind of the edge had a rubber. The idea was that I guess it was supposed to just fully cover the ear hole or whatever, but we didn't have a chance to try it out. I'm curious how that sounds.
Yeah.
And then they had that new closed back, right?
Oh, yes. We did have a new, it was kind of expensive hi-fi one. I think it was $12,000.
$12.99, I think, or $12.49.
Yeah, so they did have kind of a new middle tier because I think they did a $2,000 one last year that was open, and this one was it's a hi-fi headphone, and they brought it down a little bit. But
I think it was based off of the $2,000 one, from what I gather.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So it was interesting because it was very treble heavy for a closed headphone, which you don't get often. So for people who kind of like the brighter sound, might be into it. But again, listening to it on their equipment at the show is not necessarily the best way to demo it. Yeah, so Me Electronics, MEE, they've been pretty popular in the really cheap but good sound for the money bracket of IEMs, and they have a new line of kind of, I think, pro custom, this sort of hybrid in multiple ways, right? Yeah. It's like the hybrid drivers, and it's a hybrid custom. So they have the IEMs that take normal tips, and they also have the customized silicon cover, similar to what Snugs does, I guess. Mm-hmm. And the 4 new ones are it's a single dynamic driver, and then a single and 1 BA, a single and 2 BA, a single and 3 BA, at $50, $100, $150, and $200. I think it was $150 for the custom silicon cover, and then they actually used a optical scanner, similar to UE uses one that's a laser scanner. Yeah. They use one that's an optical. I believe it's less intrusive in the ear. It was an interesting tech. And again, typical of them. It sounded pretty solid for the price. I think 350 combined for their top of the line setup is pretty good for a custom.
So the idea here would be also that you could, if you bought the faceplates interchangeable, and with that silicone sleeve that's interchangeable, you could pretty much, if you decided, I got $50, you could upgrade the BA driver and like make it exactly like the one you had before. I don't know if anybody would do that, but it's just an interesting thought process to make the entire kind of process modular.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea of it a lot, actually.
In case you guys don't know, there's also like a kind of a more 2-channel, but also headphone and also different kinds of stuff in the Venetian. The Venetian, the state was a little kind of short, small. It was only like half of one side, so there's like a three aisleways in every floor, and it really used to be like 2 floors of each 6 sides, and we really only had one side of one floor this time. But one of my favorite audiophile characters who we've interviewed for the show, Andrew Jones, was at the far end. Did you get a chance to go in there and listen to it?
I did, actually. I actually sat down in an empty room and talked to Andrew Jones for like half an hour, which was pretty cool. So I've never met him before, although obviously I've heard of him. It was pretty cool sitting down and talking to him. He was demoing a new ELAC speaker that had a ribbon driver, bookshelf ELAC purchased or I guess merged with another company recently, Audio Alchemy.
Audio Alchemy.
And so they're demoing a new power amp, a new preamp streamer, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's like got what they're calling a jet tweeter, 12K or 12K. No, 1,200 for the floor stander for each. Like the same kind of pricing they usually do, and that means that the bookshelf was $1,200 for 2. For the 5-inch, there's a 6-inch for $1,600. Center is $850, and yeah, it sounded good. He did his little thing where he plays a quiet song, and it's kind of like a trick. He plays a quiet song, and you hear the resolution. It's great. Then he plays some fucking. Then he plays a dance track, and the volume level's like way louder, and the bass just comes slamming in. I'm onto you, Jones. But it's always impressive. But it's like he's like kind of tricking you because you're like listening so closely, and then the bass just goes doom. And it's because it's the bookshelf, right? And all of a sudden you would never expect this huge bass thing to come, and you're like doing the cheesy, well-trodden kind of like, where's the subwoofer? Oh, I don't see it. I'm like, I'm onto you, Jones. I'm just saying, buddy. I'm onto you. But it still sounded good.
You know what? I'm not a 2-channel guy, so I was in there and I was like, yeah, man, these sound pretty good. And I do have like a big like 12-inch SVS sub on my system at home, so on my like home theater system. So I'm used to that, having a nice like sub, and those sounded pretty good for not having a sub, I gotta say.
And I look, I'm not bagging on it. It's just funny to me because it gets me every time. I'm like, I always look. I'm like, maybe there is one. Because see, they sell subs. That's the thing. It's not like it's totally random. They have subs, but no. Andrew Jones, you little trickster, always the king of the low end, and it's tight. Anyways, so they have also they have a new pre-streamer DDP2. This is the Audio Alchemy line.
It's branded as ELAC now though, so
it is. But the branding still says Audio Alchemy on the badging, so it's like a subset line compared to. I think the line is actually Discovery is one, and then this one is like the upper tier because the pricing is higher. It's actually $2,500 for that full MQA unfold digital. The volume pot is digitally controlled analog resistant divider. The designer told me that, and I was like, oh, I guess.
That's okay. I've been studying DIY amps. And yeah, all volume pots are voltage dividers, just FYI.
I know. I'm not saying he made it up in a creative sense. He was just saying, this is what the terms are. I'm like, you know what? Thank you, sir. You want to write the rest of the article for me? Because I will let you do that. On the same kind of thread, NAD actually had a new streamer integrated for, guess what, the same price, $2,500. The M10 announced at CES, shipping early February, 100 times 2. But this guy's got an amp, so it's all in one little like Sonos-sized box. But the the entire front panel is basically like a screen that shows you what thing is playing. 100 times 2, Class D, room correction, Rune, controlled by the Blue Sound app, full MQ unfold. shooting into a Dolly Epicon 6 at 14K. So they did the thing where like the speakers are really nice and this thing was really nice. And it was Class D, and I thought it sounded pretty good. Nice bass. Really nice looking, simple piece. Great. Got a chance to talk to Sonar Works. They make the headphone flattening kind of baseline, rejuvenating headphone thing that makes almost every headphone sound very similar, like a bass thing. They test the headphones. They make them sound similar, so you have like a flat response. And they're bringing some more personalization tools to their recently released beta iPhone app. So they're getting in there. This is one of those companies where I foresee it being just simply behind the curtain, a thing that basically makes everything sound a little bit. It sounds pretty good. The DSP they've done, to my ears, always helps the imaging, creates more air, and just brings out a lot of the essence from mids to top. So it's more of a software play, but really for audiophiles, if you can get into it, it's really fun stuff. Also, Niagara, Switzerland, actually. Switzerland company. I didn't know they were Switzerland. I just got back from Switzerland. It's wonderful. HD DAC X, $64,500. Dan ordered 2, one for each room.
I only have 2 rooms, but each one has a $65,000. What is it? I don't even know.
It's a DAC.
DAC. Each one has a $64,000.
It is, unfortunately, Dan, it is a very specialized form of Sigma Delta.
Oh,
I said it is, but it's
never
like,
mind. I'm returning them.
No MQA, but 4-time DSD. If you like their aesthetic, it's definitely a unique, identifiable look. But I heard it sounded friggin' awesome, and it's not an off-the-shelf Sigma Delta, but they really did it up. And if you're into that thing, they have it going on.
I will say that every really high-end Delta Sigma I've heard, like a 5-digit cost or more, has actually been extremely good. I mean, once you get into that price range, the tech that they're using, I mean, it doesn't super matter. You can make Delta Sigma sound good with enough money. You like the Bercasti and stuff like that, and they sound fantastic. The Da Vinci.
The big turntable news for DJs out there, a new 7th generation 1200 turntable. Brought the price Technics. Yeah, good. Yeah, Technics. In case you guys didn't know, some might not. Technics, the 1200 MK7. They also brought the price down apparently to 1200. Not necessarily the audiophile play for us guys, but a lot of people really like that thing. It's black. It looks cool. But I actually talked to a bunch of DJs though this weekend, and everybody's like, "Yeah, no one spins vinyl anymore." And I was like, "What is this market?" And every DJ said, "I don't spin vinyl." I'm like, that would be really cumbersome to be portable with all your vinyl records. But I'm not saying turntables don't have their place, especially in the audiophile crowd. But I was just weird, there's so much buzz about it, a lot of buzz, and it's something that's a tool that's not really used as much as a full digital one. But
it's kind of weird. I mean, I know that I sound like an old man when I'm like, music these days is garbage, but I didn't realize I sounded like an old man when I was like, DJs spin with vinyl. It's just, that's things that they did back in the old days, 10 years ago.
I know. And on a portable front, in the home, it's different. You have your collection. It's sitting there. You walk it over to the thing. If you have to bring a crate of vinyl to a show to perform, it just seems like, whoa.
Dude, in my day, we brought crates of vinyl both ways uphill, barefoot in the snow.
So I was in there. They also let me know they do have some headphones, too. A pair of Target prices, they're calling it $450 and $400. And they're wireless, and one is noise canceling. So not exactly the audiophile play, but mainstream audiophile. Maybe you want to do that if you love the brand. They look good. They sound pretty good. On the digital side, though, a new audio stream SLG 700 network and SACD player. They threw the SACD player in for free. Target price of $3,500. Also, with this one, full MQA, Chromecast, and DSD. Supports their Technics Audio Center app, which helps control it. And while I was in there, Lynn Stanley showed up with her new test pressing album and sang a little bit for us. And we had the record spinning, and I got a chance to hang out with her a little bit, and she was very nice.
Before you said her, I was going to say, didn't he overdose on heroin and die like in the 90s?
Lynn Stanley is a wonderful jazz player who was live and well with us, and she goes to the audio shows. She's like an audiophile favorite. So
Not the lead singer from Alice in Chains.
Oh, it does sound similar to that, doesn't it?
Lane Stanley.
That's close. No, it was.
No, that's good though. That would have been creepy.
If his ghost showed up, yeah, that would be out of the ordinary for sure. SVS, the subwoofer company, new Prime Pinnacle, Audiophile, Tower, 1,500 a pair, spring release, big tight explosions. Also SB3000 from them, the new 13-inch driver, a first in that size for them, 800 watt amp backing it, $1,000 for the sealed, 14 for the ported. Launched 3 months ago on that guy. So really, anything that you just kind of had to take away from this? I think we should at least speak to the idea that it wasn't super crazy packed. The South Hall is hard to tell if there's a lot or not because it's just a mad convention center full. But some people were saying, on the half floor we had. What do you think about the flow?
It felt like there was a lot of people. I've seen it more crowded for sure, but I've also definitely seen it emptier. So it seemed maybe a little below average, but it didn't feel like it was slow, if that makes sense.
I think it really depended on what room you went into as well, because I went into one room and they're like, I'm going to be honest, they said, I don't know why we're here. But if you go into the ELAC room, I can't frickin' ever sit down on that couch.
Yeah. That's why I thought it was really, the fact that I literally got to sit and talk to Andrew Jones for half an hour in a room by ourselves says something,
it's a bit of timing. It ebbs and flows for sure. But I'm always like, why is it every time I walk in, I see Andrew Jones' head from across the room, and I'm like, I'm never gonna get there. It's fine. I'll live, I guess. But I think the flow is okay. The thing that's deceiving is that when there's so few vendors in there, it amplifies the size of what happens. When there's only like 3 places to go, it's like everybody goes there, So it's also like the fact that there wasn't as many rooms made the room seem more full. So if people are like, whatever, look, I don't know what's going to happen with the Venetian guys. People said they would be done this year. I've had emails coming back saying, hey, man, no one's going. You shouldn't go. Yet I came out here and checked it out, and I had a full schedule the whole time I was here. So it's just kind of one of those things that, yes, it may collapse by next year in the Venetian at least, but the lifestyle play for wireless freaking headphones is on a tear. It's not going to stop. It's going to get bigger. There's no more jack on the phone I'm holding in my hand anymore. So it's where we are. That's the play. Is it cell phone covers and like weird massage chairs? Yeah, it's that too. It's CES.
It's interesting. It definitely seems like the high-end audio side of things is kind of going away. Like the companies in high-end audio that are making consumer targeted stuff are still there and they're still doing fine, but it's about the consumer stuff. It's about the true wireless. It's about the ANC stuff that the audiophiles don't particularly care about. And gaming was huge.
Yeah, gaming is pretty big.
Just lots of gaming stuff. But again, like that stuff's not targeted towards audiophiles. So for it was, if it's like this again next year, it's going to be a little depressing. But that said, the stuff that was there was cool. It was still worth going. But it's much smaller than years past, and companies that I'm used to seeing there that I would expect to see there were not there. Which I was like someone like Cord, who actually is big in 2-channel and headphone, wasn't showing. Which or even Odyssey, who does have consumer oriented gaming stuff, wasn't there. Which I was a really good point very surprised by.
Yeah, they have the new Mobius headphone. I didn't see it anywhere,
and they have the iSign VR. Yeah. Both, as VR as huge as it was and gaming as huge as it was, I was surprised that they weren't there, especially since they just announced the Amazon exclusive version of the Mobius.
I think that for everybody that we saw, there were some significant players that did not show up this year, like he was alluding to. I mean, Cord's been there every year. I've been there with a big, presentation, and they bring everybody out. And they were. I did run into one of the gentlemen who works for the company, but he was just kind of peeking around, looking at things, and hanging out and doing the, handshakes and such. He was not. They were not showing, and I'm leaving out a bunch of companies that are big players that usually make an appearance. They were not there. It's decent. It's still fun.
Did you see Meridian there?
No,
with MQA as big as it is and with the title thing? Like, where's Meridian?
But it's not a consumer-based show, so everybody has different priorities than when it is. But I don't know. I think it's still fun for me. You know who I missed? AK didn't have a room that I see, and I will say this. Well, the one year they went, Kanye West showed up, and I was like, "Wow, this is a show. Kanye West is here," and he was in the AK room listening to some stuff, and then took off. I'm like, "Wow, this is like," and I always see like a bunch of celebrities. None of that. It's none of that in the Venetian anymore. And by celebrities, I mean Iggy Azalea last year at the Monster booth, huge.
And Stevie Wonder 2 years ago, was it? He's usually around.
So, anyways, I'm not. It's not one of those things where I say, "Hey, people, come out," because you guys can't really come out anyways. I don't even know if it's sad. There's a lot of other good audio shows, the robust audio shows in the U.S. circuit, at least, that are picking up the slack big time. So, for me, I don't even think it's sad or the state is depressing or any of that stuff. I just think the show dollars are shifting to other shows, and they're more focused on the audiophile thing, and it's a B2C move, and CES just isn't that place, and it doesn't need to be. There's plenty of other room for growth around the U.S.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really think it speaks to the state of the industry so much as just as the state of CES. Like CES is more targeted towards a different audience these days, and that those companies are still around. They're still putting out new products, and a lot of the stuff that I saw from Sennheiser, RHA, from some of these other guys, they actually had at Rocky Mountain not a couple months ago. So they're not launching it at CES. They're launching it at actual headphone shows, which is cool.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, hey, a warm thank you to Dan Browdy for helping us out with the CES recap. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody.